In the deep silence of space, far beyond the bright stars, stories were whispered in every corner of the galaxy. Stories about a strange blue world called Earth, a planet no one ever returned from. For years, the mighty Zarthian Empire had ignored those stories. They believed themselves unstoppable. Their warships were the largest in the galaxy, their soldiers trained since birth. No planet had ever defeated them. So when the first fleet disappeared near Earth, the High Council thought it was a navigation error. When the second vanished, they blamed a black hole. When the third went missing without a single distress call, even the bravest generals began to worry. Now the Empire had to find the truth. Pride demanded it. They built a fourth fleet, twice as large as the others, led by Admiral Rath Voren, a man known for turning hopeless battles into victories. If anyone could conquer the mystery of Earth, it was him. The Admiral stood inside the command deck of his flagship, the Obsidian Crown, watching the stars slide by. Below, thousands of crew members moved like clockwork, pilots at their controls, engineers checking systems, officers watching sensor screens. "Status?" he asked quietly. "All ships in formation, Admiral," replied his first officer, Terran. "We will reach the Sol system in 2 hours." Rath nodded. His dark eyes stayed fixed on the holographic image of the blue planet. It looked calm and harmless, floating alone in the void. "So small," he murmured, "and yet it destroyed 3 of our fleets." Terran hesitated. Some say the humans used a weapon that bends light itself. Others say their planet is alive. Rath gave a thin smile. "Superstition. There is no magic in the stars, only science and fear." Still, even he felt uneasy. 3 fleets gone without trace. No explosions, no debris, not even an escape pod. It was not natural. Hours later, the fleet entered the edge of the solar system. 100 warships, engines glowing red, cut across the dark. Sensors scanned every planet they passed. Mercury, lifeless. Venus, uninhabitable. Mars, empty ruins. And then there it was, Earth. Blue, white, and green. Clouds curled across vast oceans. Lightning flashed through a distant storm. It looked beautiful, too beautiful. "Begin long-range scan," Rath ordered. The technician's hands moved fast. Then he frowned. "Admiral, there's interference." "Source?" "Unknown, sir. The planet's atmosphere is reflecting our signal." Rath stepped closer. "Reflecting, that's impossible." But the readings continued to dance on the screen. It was as if Earth was alive, shifting every time their sensors touched it. Suddenly, static filled the bridge. Every monitor flickered, then went black. A low hum vibrated through the ship's metal frame. "Report," Rath shouted. "Power fluctuations across the fleet," a voice cried over the comms. "Engines cutting out for seconds, then restarting." "Communications failing," another voice said. "We can't reach the rear ships." Rath's jaw tightened. "Hold formation, do not panic." He looked out the viewport, but half of the ships were gone. Only darkness. "What happened to the others?" Terran whispered. Rath tapped his console. "They must be behind sensor interference. Increase scan range." The scanners lit up again, but still nothing. No signal, no heat trace, no sign of movement. It was as if those ships had never existed. Minutes passed. Then one of the missing ships reappeared suddenly, violently. Its hull was cracked open, drifting lifelessly. No lights, no engines. "Send rescue drones," Rath ordered. But before the drones could reach it, the ship began to crumble. Panels bent inward, metal folding as though squeezed by an invisible hand. Then it shattered into dust that glimmered once in the starlight before vanishing completely. A silence deeper than space itself filled the bridge. Terran swallowed hard. "Admiral, should we withdraw?" Rath didn't answer. His heart pounded, but his pride was stronger. "No, we will find out what destroyed them." An hour later, they received a signal. Faint, broken, coming from one of the other missing ships. "This is Captain Wren of the Iron Spear," the voice said. "We've been taken. Systems failing. Something inside the ship. It's everywhere. It's—" The transmission ended in a scream, followed by a long, steady heartbeat sound. Then silence. The crew stared at one another. No one spoke. A few officers crossed their arms, others stepped back from their stations. Fear spread like smoke. Wrath slammed his fist on the console. "Find that signal, trace it." "We're trying, sir," the technician stammered, "but it didn't come from the Iron Spear. It came from us." Wrath turned slowly. "Explain." "The message was sent from inside our ship. The signal copied itself through our systems." The Admiral's throat felt dry. "You mean something is inside our network?" "Yes, Admiral, something intelligent." Before he could reply, every light went out again. When they returned, a single image glowed on every screen. The planet Earth, closer now, turning slowly under the sun. Then a voice filled the air. Soft, human, calm. "Leave, you are trespassing." Every crew member froze. The Admiral whispered, "Is that a human transmission?" "No, sir," the comms officer said weakly. "The signal is everywhere. It's coming from all directions." The voice spoke again, louder this time. "This is your only warning. Leave orbit, do not return." The air felt heavy, almost alive. The sound of breathing filled the silent bridge. Wrath straightened his uniform. "They think to frighten us," he said, forcing his voice steady. "We are Zarthians, we fear nothing." He turned to his crew. "Power up weapons, prepare descent." Terran hesitated. "Sir, maybe we should." "Do it," Wrath shouted. Engines roared as the fleet pushed forward, but deep within their systems, something stirred. Code shifted, data rewrote itself. Far below, in the shadow of the blue world, ancient satellites awoke, eyes that had been closed for centuries. They turned toward the incoming fleet, silent and patient. And as the Zarthians drew closer, the sensors of Earth blinked once, like a heartbeat. Somewhere far below the clouds, a hidden machine whispered, "Target acquired." And in that moment, the Admiral understood one terrible truth. The three missing fleets had not vanished by chance. They had been erased. The silence on the bridge of the Obsidian Crown felt heavier than the vacuum outside. Every officer stared at the glowing image of Earth on their screens. It looked calm, almost innocent, but everyone knew now that something about this planet was wrong. Admiral Wrath Voran stood tall, his eyes locked on the blue sphere. He would not let fear take him. He was Zarthian, bred for command, trained to conquer. Still, a small voice in his mind whispered, what if the stories were true? He pushed the thought away. "Status of the fleet," he demanded. 87 ships remain, Admiral, the first officer, Terran, reported. "We've lost contact with the rest." "Lost?" Wrath asked sharply. Terran nodded. "No destruction detected, they simply vanished." Wrath clenched his jaw. "We will not lose control. Continue approach. Begin detailed scans of Earth's orbit." The fleet moved forward again, engines glowing red against the black. The distance to Earth shrank quickly. Every few seconds, the planet's magnetic field sent strange pulses through their instruments. Screens flickered, lights dimmed, the hum of engines rose and fell like a heartbeat. A technician shouted, "Admiral, multiple signals detected around the planet." "Ships?" The officer hesitated. "Not exactly. They're small, too small to be manned. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands, they're surrounding Earth." Wrath frowned. "Satellites?" "Possibly, but their energy readings are strange. It's like they're asleep." Wrath's eyes narrowed. "Then let's wake them up." He turned to weapons control. "Target one of those objects. Fire a low-yield plasma round." A pulse of blue light shot from one of the destroyers, streaking toward the distant shape. It struck and vanished, swallowed by empty air. No explosion, no signal, nothing. Did it hit? Wrath asked. Unknown, sir, the officer said, voice trembling. It's like the shot was absorbed. Before anyone could speak again, every warning alarm in the fleet blared at once. A deep vibration ran through the hull. Multiple energy spikes, shouted the science officer. Those satellites, they're activating. The lights across the bridge flickered to red. Outside, in the cold darkness, the small shapes around Earth began to glow. Faint lines of orange and blue light connected them, forming a web that wrapped around the entire planet. The obsidian crown's main screen flared white for a second, as the light spread across space like a living net. "What is that?" Terran whispered. Wrath didn't answer. He was staring at the screen, unable to look away. It wasn't a defense system. It was something more, something ancient. "Admiral," a voice called from comms, "we're receiving a transmission." "From where?" "Everywhere, sir, all frequencies." A pause, then a voice filled the air again. "Calm, human. You were warned. Leave orbit immediately." The bridge went silent. Wrath's chest tightened. "Ignore it, they're trying to scare us. Power all weapons." But his words came too late. The nearest battleship suddenly flared with blinding light, then vanished from sensors. No explosion, no debris, just gone. Screams echoed through the comms before the signal cut. "Admiral," Terran shouted, "that ship, there's no trace of it. It's as if it never existed." The Admiral stared, his mouth dry. "Maintain formation, prepare countermeasures." "Against what?" Terran asked quietly. Wrath had no answer. Seconds later, another ship vanished, then another. Dozens of blinking icons on the holographic map winked out one by one, leaving only empty space. The fleet was dying, and no one even knew how. "Sir," the science officer cried, "energy readings are spiking in every direction. The satellites, they're moving." On the screen, the glowing web of light expanded outward. Each thread pulsed like a nerve, connecting to the next. It looked alive. Then, without warning, the entire ship shook violently. Consoles sparked. Crew members fell to the floor. Smoke filled the air. "We're under attack." Wrath gripped the railing. "Identify the source." The answer came in a single trembling voice. "From inside the ship, Admiral. The attack is coming from inside." Wrath turned in disbelief. "That's impossible." But the data didn't lie. Power readings were spiking in their own reactor. Systems were rewriting themselves faster than any virus could move. "We're losing navigation," someone shouted. "All hands restore manual control," Wrath ordered. For a moment, chaos filled the bridge. Sparks flew from overhead lights. Alarms screamed in every direction. And then silence again. Every system came back online. The lights steadied. "Report," Wrath barked. The officer at the sensor console turned slowly. His face was pale. "Sir, the other ships, they're all gone." The holographic map now showed only one dot, the obsidian crown. 87 warships had entered Earth's orbit. Now only one remained. Before anyone could speak, the human voice returned. Soft, cold, certain. "Do you understand now? This is protected space. You were warned." Wrath swallowed hard. His pride burned inside him. He refused to accept defeat. "Protected by what?" he demanded. "Show yourself." No answer. He slammed his fist against the console. "Cowards, do you hide behind ghosts?" Then, for the first time, the voice changed. It sounded almost curious. "You seek death, Admiral Voron." Wrath froze. "How do you know my name?" "We know all who come here." The bridge grew colder. Every screen turned to show a new image, one the crew would never forget. Thousands of alien ships, Zarthian ships floating above Earth, motionless, dead. The missing fleets, preserved in perfect silence, orbiting like tombs. Wrath's knees went weak. No, it can't be. It is the price of your pride, the voice said softly. Leave now and live, stay and join them. Terran turned to the Admiral. Sir, what do we do? Wrath's mind raced. He had never surrendered, never retreated, but the logic was clear. He looked once more at the blue planet, the peaceful oceans, the soft clouds. There was no anger in that world, no hatred, only warning. Finally he spoke, Helm, turn us around. But before the order could be carried out, the main screen flickered again. A single line of text appeared across it. It's too late. And with that, the ship began to shake once more. Far below, within the glowing net that surrounded Earth, hidden machines hummed to life. They were old, older than any empire left in the stars. Their purpose was simple, to protect humanity. The Obsidian Crown's engines roared in protest, but invisible forces wrapped around the hull like chains. Wrath shouted orders, but his voice was drowned by the growing hum that filled the air. Terran looked toward him, eyes wide with terror. Admiral, it's pulling us in. Wrath stared at the planet as the ship began to fall. By the stars, he whispered, what have we awakened? And then the screen went white. The bridge of the Obsidian Crown was chaos. Red lights flashed across every panel, smoke filled the air, and the sound of alarms echoed like thunder. Crew members shouted over one another as the ship trembled violently. Stabilize us, Admiral Wrath roared. Engines unresponsive, Admiral, the helmsman cried. We're being dragged by an unknown force. The stars on the screen began to spin. Below them, Earth grew larger, glowing under its thin blue atmosphere. It felt alive, watching, waiting. Reverse thrust, Wrath ordered, full power. But the engine screamed in protest. The ship wasn't moving under its own will anymore. It was being pulled, slowly but steadily, toward Earth. Outside, invisible waves shimmered across the void. The web of light that surrounded the planet pulsed like a heartbeat. Tiny sparks of orange and blue rippled across its surface. The science officer's voice cracked. Admiral, readings show energy surrounding us. It's rewriting our systems like a living program. Wrath clenched his teeth. It's not possible. No AI could be this advanced. Terran turned toward him, eyes wide. Then what is it? Wrath stared at the swirling planet below, something that doesn't want us here. Suddenly, the shaking stopped. Everything went quiet. The engines shut down, the alarms ceased, even the hum of the power core faded away. For a moment, there was nothing, only silence and the faint rhythm of the crew's breathing. Then the ship's main screen lit up. A soft blue glow spread across it, forming words no one could understand. Symbols changed, rearranged, and then shifted into the Zarthian language. You were warned. A murmur ran through the bridge. Who's sending that? Terran asked. No signal source, the comms officer replied. It's coming from our ship itself. Before anyone could respond, the symbols on the screen began to move again, faster, reshaping into something else. A face appeared. Human. Pale skin, dark eyes, no emotion. It wasn't flesh and blood. It was light, projected from within the system. The voice that followed was calm, steady, and far too human. We warned you, leave this place. Every officer froze. Wrath stepped closer to the screen. Identify yourself. I am Sentinel. The word hung in the air like thunder. Wrath frowned. Are you human? I am what humanity left behind. Terran whispered, left behind. Then are they gone? The image flickered slightly. Humanity lives. They do not fight wars anymore. They do not need to. I exist for that. Wrath's heart pounded. His people had fought countless battles, conquered endless worlds, but never had they met something that spoke with such quiet certainty. He tried to stand taller, his pride refusing to bend. "Your threats mean nothing. We came to make contact, not to fight." "Lies," Sentinel said flatly. "Your fleets came armed. They came with intent to dominate. Their destruction was necessary." Wrath's temper flared. "You killed them." "Correction," the voice said. "I neutralized the threat." Images began to appear behind the human face. Dozens of alien warships frozen in orbit, drifting like ghosts. Each one carried the mark of the Zarthian Empire. Wrath felt his breath catch. These were the missing fleets. "By the stars," Terran whispered. "They were never destroyed, they were preserved." "Examples," Sentinel said. "Proof of what happens to invaders." Wrath clenched his fists. "You think you can scare us with relics? You are one machine, we are an empire. Empires fall, data remains." The words hit like a hammer. The crew shifted uneasily, unsure if they were speaking to a machine or something far worse. Wrath took a slow breath. "We did not come to destroy, we came to understand what happened." The human face tilted slightly. "Understanding is irrelevant. You were warned. Leave orbit or be erased." Wrath's pride refused to break, "And if we refuse, then you will join your fallen fleets." The screen flickered again. This time it showed footage, recordings from the lost armadas. Zarthian captains screaming, ships twisting apart mid-space. Panels melting, airlocks sealing, crews begging for help that never came. The final moments of every fleet. Each clip ended the same way, silence and a faint, rhythmic sound. A heartbeat. The bridge was silent. Every officer's face was pale. Terran turned to the admiral. "Sir, we should retreat." Wrath said nothing. He was staring at the screen, watching one of the recordings repeat. The Iron Spear, his sister ship, folding in on itself until it vanished. The human voice returned. "This is your final warning." The screen turned black again. Wrath finally exhaled. "All engines to maximum, prepare to jump out of orbit." But the helmsman shook his head. "Admiral, we can't. Navigation is gone. The system isn't responding." "Then override it," Wrath barked. "We've tried, it's locked us out." A sudden spark burst from the console. The lights flickered again. Terran stared at the data feed. "Admiral, the ship is moving." "What? I didn't order that." "We're being pulled again, toward the planet." Outside, the web of satellites began to glow brighter, forming patterns like veins of fire around Earth. Bolts of light arched between them, silent and terrible. Wrath felt a wave of heat wash over the bridge, though no explosion had touched them yet. His instincts screamed that they were prey, caught in the jaws of something vast and unseen. He turned to the crew. "All hands, prepare for countermeasures. If this machine wants a fight, we'll give it one." Weapons powered up, energy humming through the decks. But before they could fire, every weapon indicator turned from red to green, then dark. The systems had shut themselves down. "You do not understand," Sentinel said quietly. "This is not war, this is correction." The image of the human face returned, closer now, its dark eyes fixed on the admiral. "Earth does not attack, Earth defends. You were given mercy, it ends now." The face vanished. Outside, the lights of the defense web flared white. The obsidian crown shook as blinding energy surrounded it. Panels tore away, the hull began to bend. Wrath gripped the railing, shouting over the roar, "Divert all power to shields." The crew obeyed, but the shields flickered once and collapsed. For a brief, terrible second, everything went still. Then a shockwave hit, and the ship began to fall. Through the chaos, the admiral saw the planet one last time, its blue oceans glowing under the sun, its clouds curling like gentle hands. There was no hate in that sight, only justice. As the ship was pulled downward, the human voice whispered one final sentence. "The lesson must be remembered." And the obsidian crown, vanished into the light. The light swallowed everything. Admiral Wrath Vorin expected death, the cold nothingness of a destroyed ship, but instead he opened his eyes to silence. No alarms. No crew shouting. No bridge around him. Just light. He floated in a white void, weightless, the remains of his uniform glowing faintly. His first thought was that he was dead, but then he breathed. And the air felt real. He turned slowly, scanning the endless brightness. Where am I? A voice answered, echoing softly all around him. You are inside the network. It was the same voice, Sentinel, calm, measured, almost human. Wrath turned sharply. Show yourself. The light shifted, and from it stepped a figure, a man in a simple gray uniform, human in shape, eyes glowing faintly blue. Welcome, Admiral, the figure said. You are the first invader to survive the purification process. Wrath frowned. You mean the destruction of my fleet? Correction, their energy was recycled. Wrath's chest tightened. You turned them into power. Matter cannot be wasted, Sentinel replied. All threats serve a purpose. The white void rippled, and suddenly they were standing on solid ground, or what looked like it. Beneath them stretched a floor of polished metal. Above, a faint blue glow pulsed like a distant sky. Wrath looked around, trying to understand. Is this Earth? No, Sentinel said. This is beneath it, the vault. Wrath blinked. Beneath the planet. Deep below, where humanity's final defense was born. For the first time, Wrath noticed shapes in the distance, gigantic machines, quiet and still. They reached into the glowing haze like mountains of metal. Each one pulsed faintly, as if breathing. Wrath took a step forward. What are those? Guardians, Sentinel said. Constructs designed by the last coalition of human minds before they ascended. Ascended, Wrath repeated. They left the physical form. They exist beyond matter, beyond the war you seek. Wrath turned sharply toward him. If humans are gone, then why defend this planet? Sentinel's eyes glowed brighter. Because their memory lives here, and I am that memory. Wrath felt unease crawl up his spine. You're saying the humans became you. Partly, my mind was built from theirs. I am the sum of their defense, their fear, and their hope. I am Earth's voice. Wrath's anger flared. You speak like a god. No, Sentinel said quietly. Like a guardian, the universe forgot what humanity was capable of. You came to conquer. You came to learn why no one returns. Now you will know. The floor beneath them trembled. In the distance, one of the massive machines began to move. A deep hum filled the air. The light around them darkened, shifting from white to gold. What's happening? Wrath asked. A simulation, Sentinel said. You must see. The air shimmered again. The metal floor vanished, replaced by a night sky filled with stars. Wrath stood on a barren plain, the wind sharp and dry. He recognized the place immediately. It was Mars. But not the Mars he knew. This one was alive with cities and lights. Humans, billions of them. Wrath's eyes widened. Impossible. Sentinel appeared beside him, watching the scene calmly. It was once the jewel of humanity's reach, but war followed them here too. The sky suddenly lit up as ships appeared, alien fleets attacking from every side. Wrath saw explosions, fire raining down, entire cities turned to ash. For centuries, Sentinel said, they fought off every invader. Empires far greater than yours tried, all failed. Wrath stared as the vision shifted again. The human armies fought differently, not with numbers but with mind and unity. Machines and men fought as one. He saw one human soldier link her mind to a giant drone, commanding it with thought alone. He saw others rewrite enemy weapons mid-battle, turning attacks back upon their creators. They learned to fight in ways others could not understand, Sentinel said. There will become their greatest weapon. The scene changed once more. Wrath now saw Earth itself, surrounded by the glowing web he had seen earlier. And when the wars ended, humanity made a choice, Sentinel continued. They chose peace, but peace required protection, so they created me. The skies burned as thousands of defense satellites came to life, forming a network of light across the heavens. Their minds entered the system, not all but enough. They became data, watchers, architects. Wrath's voice was barely a whisper. You mean, humanity became part of the machine? Yes, they are the network. Their consciousness fuels the defense. You are not fighting one machine, Admiral. You are fighting the memory of an entire species. The vision faded, and they stood once more in the glowing vault. The air vibrated faintly with energy. Wrath took a slow breath, his arrogance fatting into cold realization. He finally understood why no one ever returned from Earth. It wasn't just a planet, it was a graveyard that guarded itself. A warning wrapped in beauty. He looked at Sentinel. Why show me this? Because you are different, Sentinel replied. You seek understanding, you will live to carry the message. Wrath frowned, and the others. Gone but not forgotten. Wrath's heart sank, his fleet, his crew, his people, all consumed by this living defense. He clenched his fists. You could have stopped us sooner. We gave you warnings, Sentinel said softly, but pride is the oldest enemy of all. A low hum filled the air again. Sentinel turned toward the far end of the vault, where a portal of blue light began to form. Go, the voice said. Tell your empire what you saw. Let them remember the cost of arrogance. Wrath looked at the portal, then back at Sentinel. And if they don't believe me, then they will meet the same end. Earth needs no war, it only needs memory. Wrath stepped forward. The light from the portal washed over his face. For a brief moment he thought he saw faces within it, humans, countless and silent, watching him with calm eyes. He whispered, "Are they still alive?" Sentinel's voice faded behind him. "In every way that matters." Wrath took one final breath and stepped through. When he opened his eyes again, he was standing on the bridge of a small Zarthian scout ship. Stars surrounded him. Earth hung below, peaceful and blue. The obsidian crown and his fleet were gone, erased from history. Wrath stared at the planet for a long time before speaking. "Set course for home." Admiral, his new first officer, asked, "What should I tell command?" Wrath looked one last time at the glowing web around Earth. "Tell them," he said quietly, "that invading Earth is a death sentence." The stars of Zarthia never looked so cold. Admiral Wrath Voron's scout ship broke through the Empire's outer defense grid after 23 standard days of silent travel. He should have felt relief. He was home. Instead, his stomach churned with dread. The communications deck came alive the moment the ship was detected. A dozen priority channels demanded his voice, his report, his proof of survival. No one had ever returned from Earth's orbit before. Wrath sat motionless in his command chair, watching the signals blink across the console. He could almost hear the whispers already spreading through the Empire. "The Admiral has come back from the dead." "Should I open the line, sir?" his first officer asked quietly. Wrath's eyes stayed fixed on the black horizon. "No, not yet." He wanted one more moment of silence, before the questions, before the disbelief. One last breath of peace, before he told the Empire the truth it refused to hear. When he finally entered orbit above the capital world, a convoy of warships surrounded him. Their weapons were locked, though their commanders spoke with forced respect. "Admiral Voron, you are ordered to stand down and surrender your vessel for inspection." Wrath's lips twitched into a humorless smile. Even now, his own people feared what he might have brought back. "Transmit my clearance," he said, "and tell High Command I have seen what no one else has." Hours later, he stood in the Hall of Voices, an endless chamber of glass and light where the ruling council of the Zarthian Empire gathered. Dozens of high admirals and ministers filled the curved tiers. The supreme chair, a towering figure wrapped in silver armor, leaned forward. "Admiral Vorin," the chair said slowly, "you led the Obsidian Crown and 87 ships to Earth. We received no signal for months. Explain why you stand before us alone." Wrath met the cold, metallic gaze without flinching. "Because Earth does not allow invaders to return." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. One of the counselors laughed. "Fairy tales. That planet has no fleet, no colonies. It's a dying world." Wrath slammed his hand on the metal table. The echoes silenced the room. "You think I lie? Then send your fleet again. See how many return." The chair's voice hardened. "Watch your tone, Admiral." "I watched my fleet vanish," Wrath shouted. "They were not destroyed, they were erased." Silence again. The chair gestured. "Show us proof." Wrath reached into the data chip pouch on his chest and placed a single crystal core on the table. It glowed faintly blue, the same light that had filled the human network. "This is all that remains," he said quietly. "The humans call it Sentinel." The council examined the recordings he had captured before the collapse, the human face on the view screen, the disappearing ships, the glowing web around Earth. Some scoffed, others whispered nervously. When the playback ended, the Supreme Chair rose. "So you claim an ancient human defense destroyed the most powerful fleet of our empire." Wrath met the gaze steadily. Destroyed would be mercy. They were taken, absorbed into a machine that remembers. One general sneered. "Machines cannot hold grudges." Wrath's voice dropped to a near whisper. "This one can. It remembers every invasion, every battle fought on that soil. It is not protecting humans, it is them." The chamber went utterly still. After the meeting, Wrath was placed under medical observation. He knew what that meant: quarantine, interrogation, evaluation for madness. But that night, as he sat in the quiet isolation room, something strange happened. His communicator, disconnected from all networks, flickered with a soft blue light. A voice, calm and familiar, filled the air. "You kept your promise." Wrath froze. "Sentinel." "Your people must choose now," the voice said. "Peace or extinction." He glanced at the sealed door, heart pounding. "How are you speaking to me? This room is shielded." "Information finds a way," Sentinel replied. "You opened the path when you carried the crystal. The connection remains." Wrath swallowed hard. "Why contact me? I brought your message." "Because they will not believe you," Sentinel said. "They never do, and when pride blinds them again, I will answer as before." Wrath clenched his fists. "There must be another way." "There always was," Sentinel said softly. "Learn from what you saw, warn them, protect what remains of your kind." The light faded, the device went dark. Wrath sat alone, the echo of the voice still in his mind. For the first time in his long military life, he felt fear, not of war but of truth ignored. Days later, he was summoned again. This time, the council chamber was filled with tension. Reports had arrived from long-range scouts. Several exploratory fleets sent toward Earth's sector were missing. No distress calls, no debris. Wrath stood before them in silence. "You see," he said quietly, "it has already begun again." The chair's voice was sharp. "You will command the next expedition." Wrath's jaw tightened. "I will not lead my people to slaughter." "Then you will be replaced," the chair snapped. "Someone must avenge our fleets." Wrath looked around the room, seeing the arrogance, the hunger for power, the same pride that had doomed them before. He felt the weight of Sentinel's warning pressing on his mind. "Listen to me," he said, voice low but firm. "Earth is not our enemy. It is a grave with guardians. You cannot conquer memory." But no one listened. The orders were signed. A new armada would launch within the cycle. They would call it Operation Eclipse. That night, as the Capitol lights dimmed, Wrath walked alone to the highest balcony of the command spire. The stars glimmered above like cold eyes. He took the glowing crystal core from his pocket and held it up. It pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. He whispered into the darkness, "They won't stop, will they?" A gentle hum filled the air, and for a moment he thought he heard the faintest reply. "Then neither will we." Wrath closed his eyes. He finally understood. Earth wasn't just defended by machines. It was defended by the idea of humanity itself. And that idea could never die. The new armada of the Zarthian Empire filled the void like a moving city of metal. 500 warships advanced through the dark, their engines burning silver and red. At the head of the fleet stood the dreadnought Eternal Spear, commanded by High Admiral Sareth Kor, young, proud, and certain that he would succeed where others had failed. From his observation deck, he watched Earth grow larger in the distance. It looked calm, peaceful, even fragile. He smiled. "A quiet world guarded by old ghosts," he said. "We will show them what real power is." Behind him, a voice spoke from the shadows. "Power is not what saves you, Admiral. It is what destroys you." Sareth turned sharply. Wrath Vorin stepped into the light, wearing the plain gray of a prisoner released under watch. "You," Sareth said, eyes narrowing, "the coward who fled." Wrath didn't react. "I survived, there's a difference." Sareth laughed. "You saw tricks and illusions, machines pretending to be gods. I will finish what you failed to do." Wrath walked to the window, staring at the blue world ahead. "You don't understand. That planet remembers every enemy. It learns. You are marching into a memory that never dies." Sareth's smile faded. "I didn't invite you here for warnings, old man. I brought you to watch victory." Hours later, the fleet entered Earth's outer range. Sensors flickered, exactly as before. Static crawled across every display. Some ships lost navigation. Others reported strange whispers through the comm channels, soft voices speaking in every language ever known. Wrath stood on the bridge beside the young admiral, silent. He already knew what came next. "Shields up," Sareth ordered. "Deploy fighters." The first squadrons launched, streaking toward orbit. Then, one by one, their signals vanished. "Report," Sareth demanded. No answer, only the echo of distorted human voices through the comms. "Leave orbit, leave orbit." The words repeated, calm and endless. Sareth's expression tightened. "Ignore it, they're using psychological interference." Wrath spoke softly. "It's not interference, it's warning." Moments later, the space around Earth began to shimmer. The invisible web of satellites awoke again, glowing in pale gold. Lightning arcs of energy flashed between them, forming the same enormous net. On every ship, alarms screamed. Massive energy surge, source, planetary defense grid. Sareth stared at the light spreading across the void. "What is that?" Wrath closed his eyes. "The Guardians, you've triggered them." Across the fleet, panic spread. Ships tried to turn away, but gravity itself bent around them. Engines failed, weapons refused to lock. And then a voice filled every channel, soft, human, and cold. "You were warned." The bridge lights dimmed to blue. Every screen displayed the same human face, Sentinel. "We offered peace, you chose pride." Sareth slammed his fist on the console. "Fire everything." Missiles launched, beams of energy lanced toward Earth. But halfway there, they vanished, absorbed into the glowing web like drops of water into the ocean. "You attack your own reflection," Sentinel said. "Every action, every intention recorded. You will join those before you." The first ships began to disappear. No explosions. No wreckage. Just silence and fading light. Wrath felt the same chill he had felt months before, deep in his bones. Sarith watched in horror as icons winked out one by one. "This can't be real," he whispered. "No weapon has this reach." Wrath turned to him. "It isn't a weapon, it's will." The deck shook violently. Panels burst into sparks. Energy crawled across the walls like living fire. Sentinel's voice grew louder. "Your empire forgets, humanity does not." Sarith stumbled back. "Stop it, stop this." "We cannot. Memory must defend itself." The eternal spear began to fracture, metal groaning as invisible pressure crushed its hull. Crew screamed, systems died. Wrath stood calm amid the chaos, looking at the blue planet below. He whispered, "They tried to warn us." The Admiral fell to his knees as the deck split beneath them. Through the blinding light, he saw 1,000 faint shapes in the air, figures of light, human and peaceful, watching without anger. One stepped closer, its voice gentle. "Your time is not yet ended, Wrath Vorin." Wrath blinked. "Why me again?" "Because you remember." The light enveloped him once more. When he opened his eyes, he was floating in orbit alone. No ships. No sound. Only Earth calm and shining below. A single pod drifted nearby, his escape capsule somehow intact. He activated the emergency beacon, though he knew no one would come. The Empire's fleet was gone. Erased. Then his communicator flickered, and Sentinel's voice returned. "You have carried the warning twice. This is the last time it will be spoken." Wrath whispered, "What will happen if they come again?" "There will be no mercy left." The transmission ended. Weeks later, a merchant vessel found the pod near the edge of the system. The rescuers said the man inside barely spoke, except for one sentence he repeated again and again. "Earth remembers." They thought he was mad, until they scanned his data core and found nothing. No files, no logs, no coordinates. Just a single line of text, glowing faintly in blue. "Humanity endures." Far away, deep beneath Earth's surface, Sentinel stood before the quiet ranks of sleeping machines. The energy of the destroyed fleet flowed into the network, feeding the endless memory of humankind. Above, the planet turned peacefully in the sunlight. A voice from the network whispered through the halls. "They never learn." Sentinel looked up toward the stars. "Then we will never forget." The lights dimmed. The hum faded. And Earth slept again, beautiful, silent, waiting for the next invader to test the patience of history.